Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. It is my huge honor to have Ana Brandt on the call today. I've talked with Ana probably 2 years ago on the phone, and I'll have to be honest, I didn't realize how cool Ana was until after I got off the call. I was like, oh my gosh, that was the Ana Brandt. It was when like Sticky Albums was just kind of just getting its feet underneath it. And my wife was like, "Are you sure you want to be starting a business when we just had our second kid?" I'm like, "Yes, babe. Trust me. This is going to be a real thing." This woman, this famous baby and maternity photographer, Ana Brandt, she's a customer, and I didn't even know it. And she did pictures for Alicia Silverstone. We can't tell anybody. We can't show anybody. The pictures are private. But Alicia Silverstone has a sticky album. And it was this great, like, tangible thing for my wife to be like, oh, maybe this is a real business. Maybe this is going to go somewhere. So thank you for that. So that's my starstruck moment. Anna, thank you so much for coming on the show. Today's episode is going to be great, guys. I'm going to talk with Anna about how the journey and how she got to where she is today as one of the industry leading photographers in this space, as well as educators. And we're also going to leave you with some really fun new marketing tactics and products that you can include in your business to really get people talking about you. Anna, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And it's so funny because with shooting celebrity babies, you're not allowed to show images.
Right.
And as a photographer, right, you're overwhelmed by, yes, she called and I'm going to do her photos. And then you're like, oh, and you can't tell anyone or show anyone. So that's so hard. But
Yeah.
then you say, how can I market to other celebrities?
Yeah.
So your product to me was ingenious because if Alicia had it on her phone, she would show her friends and she would do the marketing without
Yeah.
me having to say anything and
Totally.
still keeping the
I mean,
confidentiality.
that's
So,
that's marketing 101, right? It's better to have other people talking about you than you talking about you.
yes, yes,
I'm assuming, especially in that market, trust is so important that they can
yes.
trust you with their most intimate moments, and privacy is, I mean, it's only gotten increasingly important, right?
Yes, and if you break it, you're done. I
Yep.
mean, if you break it, they're just not going to choose you again. And, we've had that with several celebrity photographers, and so much so that I would put the images on a drive that I would carry to and from my home for certain celebrities
Yep.
for the risk of, if we had interns or somebody, at the risk of that. And
Wow. Yeah.
so, I just realized that after 15 years, I didn't want to like ruin my reputation just because I wanted to share an image,
Totally. It's not worth it. Right. Exactly. And just
So,
privacy is a really important thing. And I think that the more digital, the more public, the more visual, like the trends are all going towards people in some areas accepting that there's less privacy. But
yeah,
I think that especially when it comes to maternity and infant photography, these children didn't choose fame, right? Like
correct.
these parents really, really, really want to protect their privacy as much
Yeah,
as they can, and it's crucial to your brand as well.
yes, for sure.
Awesome. Okay, so let's dig into. You didn't just wake up one day and become this awesome photographer with people flying and destination flying their children in to get photographed by you. What was it like? Tell me what it was like when you were struggling. Like, how far back do we have to go where you were like, "Am I really gonna do baby photography?"
Well, so here's the thing. I came to California 15 years ago, 1999.
Yep.
When I came, I was doing web design by day, photography by night.
Okay.
I had been, taking pictures since I was a teenager. My whole 20s, I was Aunt Anna with a camera, had five nieces and nephews, loved it, but had really no intention of becoming a photographer. And I was making very good money doing what I was doing as in the web world because I entered the web world early 20s
Yep.
and I kind of came in at the beginning.
Nice.
So the company, we got married and the company relocated us to California. Well, when I came here, I immediately started doing photography and enrolling in the local college so I could get free darkroom pass because it had been something I'd been doing for 10 years and it was just so natural.
Yep.
And I've always been very business minded and driven. I have two self employed parents. So I've always grown up in an environment that everyone's always been self employed. I mean, it's just kind of the way that I grew up.
Got it.
And So I knew having a dad as an accountant, register a business name, bank accounts. I kind of did all that even before I said I was a professional photographer.
Yep.
My biggest challenge was nobody in California knew who I was, and I didn't know who anyone was in California. I knew one person, and that was my husband.
Yep.
And I'm not really good with geography, and we moved from New York to Huntington Beach, and you could have really put me on a remote island. I wouldn't have known where I was. And I ended up, within 6 months of moving to California, quitting my web design job, found out I was pregnant. The firm didn't know I was pregnant. But I left the firm because I was getting more into photography, and I just started shooting child models on the side. And I just felt like they had wanted me to I had wanted to work from home. They wouldn't let me. They wanted me to work in the office. And I just was like, ah. And I literally just quit.
Good for
I had no business plan. I had a bank account. I had a website. And I called my husband, who wasn't even in town, crying that he had known I was pregnant, but I was saying, I'm pregnant. And I just walked out of my job where I was making well over $80,000 a year plus bonus. Just left. And so then it was like, I remember us talking at dinner, and he was like, well, what are we going to do with the baby if you go back to work? Who's going to watch the baby? And I was like, me? What do you mean who's going to watch the baby? And then I remember thinking, goodness, I had been just leading my own life for so many years. I did photography whenever I wanted to, did web design whenever I wanted to, was making good money. All of a sudden I thought, oh, I should probably maybe make money. And so that was my biggest challenge, is just I didn't know where I was, and I didn't know anyone.
Yep.
What I did know was I knew how to use my camera. Yep. I had been shooting solid for over 10 years as an amateur. I knew light. I didn't own studio lighting. I didn't know anything about studio lighting. I didn't own a flash. All I knew was my camera, shooting in manual, on film. That was it.
Yep.
And
what I love about this story already is I think there's different approaches where people get into photography where they baby step it. And I don't oftentimes hear like in the middle. It's either like they go really, really slow and dabble, dabble, dabble. And then there's the other style, which is like, let's just rip the Band-Aid off and jump off the cliff. I have no idea what's down there, but I'm going for it. And I think what I really relate to is how having children can just turn up the heat and have you be two things. Like it almost sounds counterintuitive, but I totally relate to it. Is I don't think I would be as hungry to provide and to set an example and to create financial freedom. Like having children does that. Like instantly, like, oh wow, I've got to think not just about next month, but I need to think about the next 10 years, 18 years, right? Yeah. And then just being like, well, this is what I have. These are the skills I have. I've got no other choice. I've got to just go for it, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think if I wasn't pregnant, I probably would have maybe taken a few months off. Right. Probably would have taken another corporate job because I'm really good at corporate. Probably just, would have screwed around because I've always known how to make money. But all of a sudden, I just thought, wait a minute, I'm going to just go with it. And I think I was literally in denial about being pregnant for the entire 9 months because I worked harder pregnant through all 3 pregnancies than I ever had. And I don't know if it was just the extra, I don't know what. But I photographed till I delivered through 3 babies. And so people always say, I always hear from photographers when I'm training them, well, I have, I'm pregnant, I'm going to slow down, or I have a little babies, or what am I going to do? I was in complete denial about all of that. I just was like, I'm just going to keep working till I deliver, and then I'm just going to put the baby on a pack and just keep going. There's things I never did. I never discussed with my children about when we were having babies. Yeah. It was like, people say, we're going to discuss it. We're going to plan it. We're going to forecast it. No, I wanted 4. I had 3. He's lucky we got away with 3. And I never thought about daycare. I'm like, the kids are coming with me. What else? I just never, and my mom tells me all the time, she's like, Anna, you just go. You don't think about things. Now, I married a very analytical guy who thinks, who forecasts, who projects, and I drive my husband insane because he's small business consulting. He's like, Anna, I go to businesses and we write this out and we forecast it and we write a business plan and we put dollars to it. No, you just register your business and you just go. And I do. And I've lived my whole life that way. And
Cool.
I just did not blink. But again, going back to my challenge was I didn't know where I lived.
Yep.
I didn't know anybody. Nobody.
Doesn't matter. Like it, we just go in. And like when I found that when you get really clear on the direction you're going on like the basics, you don't need to know the specifics, but you know
Yeah.
where you're going, the
Yeah.
how you get there. Doesn't matter. Like we'll figure it out. Let's just go. We need to go right now. We need to provide for this family. We need
Yes.
to. I need to be present with my family. I'm
Yeah.
like while I'm making money. I love how cavalier your attitude is with like these things are not mutually exclusive. Like I can have a family and I can make a lot of money. I can have an
Yes.
awesome business doing what I love to do when I say I want to do it, and I can have
Yes.
an awesome family. Like what a great role model you are, not only to your own family but to other photographers.
Yes, and I think people think too much. Last night my husband and I were working on taxes. We were exhausted, and my 9-year-old comes in and she says, "Daddy, I need you for something." And he says, "What?" She's like, "Could you build my website?" And he's like, "Now I had registered domains for all my kids years ago, and just because." And
Yeah,
he's like, "Yeah." And she goes, "Can you do it by tonight?" And he's like, "Well, Mom and we're kind of making dinner and working on taxes right now. What about maybe by Friday?" She's like, "Okay." And so later last night, I see her in the laundry room, and I'm like, "Ava, why do you want a website so quickly?" And she's like, "Well, Mom, I make things and I have my own business because I make things. And, I just think it's time I started making money and selling things online." And I was like, okay. And I was looking at her thinking it wasn't even a thought. She just kind of was. I see my parents doing it, and there's no stumbling block in front of her that says you're 9, you don't have experience,
yep.
you don't really have a bank account you can touch yet. She just was like, "I'm going to do this,"
That's what
and
that's what people do.
that's
Yeah,
what people do,
I
right?
love
And
it. Good for you.
yeah, and I
That's
just
so
have
great.
always been like that.
And it's
Be
getting
careful
easier and
what you
easier
wish.
to do that.
Yeah,
Like college. I could go on and on about like college and the
yeah,
argument for and against college. I can see both sides very clearly.
yes,
But the experience of just digging in and doing something is you can't
yes,
replace that. I think
yeah,
colleges are really going to have to catch up to making courses way more hands-on and in
correct,
the real
absolutely.
world, right?
More entrepreneur based, more work
Totally.
study programs. We've told all of our children they don't have to go to college. We have college funds.
Yep.
They can, but we're
Hmm.
not mandating that they have to go to college for
Yep.
sure.
Like I hear other entrepreneurs talk about. So let's just be conservative. Like what is a state college 4 year gonna cost? Two to $300,000 or something like that. Or let's just say 100 grand. Like
Yeah,
what if you just gave? What if you just had like an account for your child to start a business with 100 grand? Think about
right,
how much they could learn. Like you can't just give that to anybody and not give them tools and support. But think
right,
about what you could learn starting your own business
yeah,
in a year or two versus 4 years and 100 grand. Just too many people are coming out, and that's really sad part is coming out of a long program like that
yeah,
with mountains of debt and
yeah,
without the skills. Because
yeah,
you get what the norm now is you graduate from college and you move back home with your parents.
yeah.
What? That's not. That's as a parent who's going to be investing in college like that. That's not the ROI I'm looking for. I'm investing in you guys to prepare my child to go be productive and go make a living, right? Not come
Yeah.
back home and live with me.
See, as a mom, I'm like, "Sure, come on back." My husband's like more like you, like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa. Hold on. I'm going golfing. Hold
Yep.
on."
Like I did, don't get me wrong. Like I want them to go like travel, go see the
Yeah,
world. It would give us more reason to go chase them down wherever they might end up.
right,
But even if they want to live here, fine, that's great. But I want
right,
them like I want a clear path for them to be employed and making a difference in the world.
right.
Okay, let's circle
Okay,
back. This is
back.
fantastic.
Yeah.
I love this conversation. Let's circle back to.
Okay,
We can switch gears. So you've built a
sure.
very successful business.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some of the lessons you've learned along the way from marketing specific. So how do you take a company without a brand where people don't know you yet and start gradually building your way up to higher product prices and getting the word out about your services?
So one of the things that I did that I still tell photographers to this day when I'm mentoring them is to do personal field trips.
Mm-hmm.
When I started, there wasn't the social media there is now. 15 years ago, there was not all of the amazing things that we have right now,
Right.
which is good and bad.
Yep.
It was bad because I had to literally walk outside of my house, but it was good because I had to walk outside of my house.
Totally.
And so, because I didn't know where I lived, I would drive around by myself because my husband traveled a lot and I didn't have any children, and would drive around and I would tell myself, okay, who is my client? And I knew from the beginning I wanted to specialize in pregnancy and newborn. So I kind of knew that. And I would drive around not only within my town, but within an hour away and find all of the places that my clients would go. So I pretended I'm pregnant, which would come in handy when I did become pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pregnant and I'm looking for, where am I going to buy clothes?
Mm-hmm.
Where am I going to do a baby registry?
Yep.
Where am I going to shop for the baby coming?
Yeah.
On and on and on. So
Where
I
am I
went
going to
to
meet with my girlfriends? Where am I going? Yeah, totally.
yeah, exactly. So I went to all the maternity stores. I knew every maternity store, every baby store. I knew all the event places. Where was I going to have my child's first birthday party? I knew all of that because I literally went out by foot, by car, and went and visited all these places as a consumer. And this is important to me because I hate solicitors. I hate when people walk through my door and they want to solicit me. I like when someone comes in as a customer and I get
Yes.
to know them, and then they go, oh, by the way, I blah, 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 blah. So my feeling was I was going to go as a consumer. And so
Yeah.
I did. I went and I shopped. I bought maternity clothes. I went and I bought baby clothes. Did it so much that before my son was born, I had the entire first year of clothing in his nursery. And my husband didn't realize it one day till I was like 6 months, and he was like, "Oh, we should probably go shopping." And I remember opening up the armoire, and I'm like, "Look!" And he was like, "When did this happen?" We talk
This
about
is
it
business
too,
research.
right? It's research and development. We talk about it to this day. I had everything, and I had went to children's consignment shops and
Mm-hmm.
bought name brand things, and I mean, I really literally had everything. And what was interesting was I was like a detective. I would look, are there any other photographers in this store? I would go to the waiting areas. I remember this store, Baby Style, in Newport Beach. And so it was in Fashion Island, the Mecca shopping area of Orange County. And there was like a nursing area. There were a ton of photographer business cards. And they were a mess. They were falling over, they were backwards, they were inside out. No books, but just cards. And I would visit that store all the time thinking, I'm going to just slip my cards in there. And I would. I'd slip my cards in there, and I'd go back, and the cards would be gone or on the floor. And I started to get to know the women at the counter. And this was a baby store where, like, they sold $90 toddler jeans. And I really am not the type of person that would ever put $90 toddler jeans in my toddler, and I never did. But that didn't prevent me from shopping there. And so I always tell photographers, just because it's a high-end store and it may not be something you're going to do,
Right.
my son's closet was filled with, things from Babies R Us. That doesn't mean that was where where I felt my target-based client was.
Right.
I felt my
Yeah,
client
that's
was
so
gonna shop
smart.
at
So
that
I want to unpack a little detail here that I think is valuable, is just thinking about having the confidence to charge the prices you want and to go after that high market. I think what photographers oftentimes get hung up on is an attitude they have about money in general,
Yes.
and being really honest with ourselves about what biases, what judgments are we making about somebody who would spend $90 on baby jeans,
Yes.
and how is
Exactly.
that getting in the way of
Yes.
you accomplishing your goals?
Not only there, in sales too. I, have a photographer friend who we've talked about this for years, where she says, well, Anna, I have this smaller end client, and we discuss why she does. And part of it is she has young babies and she's not ready. It's fine.
Yep.
But her philosophy is she would never spend. She has a problem with high sales because she feels she would never spend that money on products.
Right.
And I say, well, I probably wouldn't spend $5,000 on photo products either, but I have clients that do and have no problem doing it because they can afford to do it.
And it's a service. They're not paying just for the product. They're paying for the experience and for the service.
Correct.
Right.
And we also have to understand that if someone's working as hard as they're working and they have a comfortable lifestyle, it's more rewarding to them. It's kind of like it's all at different levels. For
Mhm.
example, I have a guy that comes to my studio and washes my car
Yeah.
every week,
Yep.
and he charges $35.
Yep.
And I have friends that would say, Anna, I would never spend $35. I will go to the car wash. The car wash is a block and a half away, and spend $12 and sit there for an hour and wash it myself.
But
Now, the person that's saying this, we're comparable in what our incomes are for the year, right?
right, right.
So what I say is, you know what? I work really hard. I've
Yeah.
got 3 kids. I have better things to do than sit in the car wash with smelly cars.
Yeah.
I love spending that extra $20 or $35 total. That he comes, he picks up my car, he takes it, he washes it, delivers it. That makes me so happy. I will give up coffee at Starbucks every day to pay that. It's the same thing when a client says, you know what? We live a comfortable lifestyle. We want to spend this money
Yeah.
on photos with large photos and have them in our wall. That makes us happy.
Yeah.
And so just what you said, you hit the nail on the head, is our own biases prevent us from walking to the expensive stores, attracting the higher end client,
Mhm.
getting the bigger sale because of our own previous
Right.
experiences,
Own judgment
small
about
bank
people with money
accounts,
or whatever
judgments.
it might. And we all know that. I love this saying. What you're speaking. How does it? I'm gonna mess it up. I'm gonna give it my best shot. It's something like, what you're speaking is coming across so loudly that I can't hear what you're saying.
Ooh,
And
that's good.
I could have messed it up, but I think you get the gist.
Yes.
Is that our
Yes.
own body language, our
Yes.
own language we happen to be using, people are going to know if you're judging them, right? If you
Yes.
can't embrace and respect and understand
Yeah.
your target market and the things they want to, like, you're not even gonna have any luck at all, right? You have
Yes.
to really understand it and get your own baggage, your own
Yes.
conversations you might be having out of the way,
Yes.
so that you can
Yes.
be fully present with whoever your target audience might be.
Yeah. Can I share a quick story
Please
about
do.
that?
Yeah.
So a week ago, we had an old assistant come in to the studio out of the clear blue. Hadn't seen him in like 5 years. I remember hiring him. We hired him as a tutor for my son in school. And then my husband didn't want a male tutor around my daughters. So we said, okay, I can't hire you as a tutor, but come and assist me in the studio. Young kid. He helped us out, did a bunch of things. And I remember him as always smiling and just being a good kid.
Yeah.
He moved on, was going to In and Out, and said he was going to, go to school and things like that. Out of the blue, he comes in to visit the studio a week ago to give me a $100 gift card to a restaurant and to give me a hug and say thank you. And I said, say thank you for what? Like, how are you? It's so nice to see you. And he goes, Anna, I was brushing my teeth in my car when you hired me. He said, I had no money. I was almost sleeping in my car. I had nothing. And you wanted to hire me so bad when your husband said no to being in the home. You brought me to the studio, and he said that changed my life. He said, I have a girlfriend. He brought his girlfriend to see me. I have a car. And it was like, I was almost crying. I was like, oh my gosh, I had no idea. And so here's a kid who's a little Hispanic kid, and I'm a Hispanic business owner, and I would just wanted to take him under my wing. He could have said, no, I'm not going to apply for a job because, I'm brushing my teeth in my car, or,
Hmm.
I'm feeling less than. He could have put his own personal struggles in the forefront, and it would have prevented him from getting a job.
Right.
But instead, he came in and he worked, and he
Yeah.
worked so hard,
So
and
great.
I had no idea. Is that
Yeah.
a fun story?
I love
And
it.
I feel like I've always been the underdog because I'm an adopted child. I'm youngest of 5, least likely to succeed in my entire family.
Hmm.
And, now I'm coming as a Hispanic girl from New York into Orange County, California, right? So the good part is no one knew who I was.
Yep.
The bad part was I always felt like the hired help.
Yeah.
I still do to this day. Like I'll walk into a $5 million home to do a photo shoot, and I just go along with the hired help. Like just I'm here to do my job. And so when I was going into that baby style store, I just felt like I was the hired help. Like, I would talk to the women at the counters, and I would say, I said to her, do you think I could leave a coffee table book here of images? And she's like, oh, no one really does that. I have to ask the owner. Why don't you go leave it in the nursery room? And so I did. I brought in his coffee table book and I put it in the nursery room. And people loved it so much that the sales girls snuck it to the front counter. And I just kept going back and going back and going back and said, if you ever have if you ever want to market, I'll be happy to shoot in the store.
Yep.
Kind of like a puppy dog in the window.
Yep.
And it was all glass store
Yep.
in by the fountain.
Yep.
But again, kind of going back from the being humble, feeling like, I know how to use
what I'm hearing here is a couple really cool things to pull out is it's just being human and meeting everybody where they're at.
Yes.
And I was a bartender for 6 years, and I feel like it was an invaluable experience for me, learning how to just be present with whoever came in the door, wherever they might have been, whether they're political, religious, financial background, it didn't matter. I was present for them and could relate to them and connect them to other people who they would never have met before. Yes. And I think that your ability in this specific story is to meet you can approach and be present with the counter attendant or the cashier differently than you would with the owner of a store, right?
Yes.
But guess what? If you were to just start calling the owner of the store out of the blue, having had no experience of what their business was like, you would have been met with a brick wall. But instead you went in, you invested your own time and energy in understanding the dynamics of the store and opportunities for you to offer your value, but in a way that they would appreciate instead of just only being focused on how you could benefit. Yes. You built this awesome relationship that people were gunning for you.
Yes, and I think that's important. What frustrates me now when I mentor photographers is, everyone complains about marketing. I have no business marketing. And I'm like, and so what are you doing? Are you still sitting in your pajamas posting on Facebook, or have you gotten dressed, showered, and left the house?
Yes.
And I had a photographer one time go, well, how are you supposed to be working if you have no clients? I go, you still work. Even if no one was calling me up and paying me, I was still shooting. Yeah. I was actually doing more competitions with some of my fine art work than I do now because I had the time to do it. Yep. And I was still going out and shooting. I was shooting family and friends and updating the website. I wasn't telling anyone I was shooting family and friends, but I was still shooting them. Now with the social media, what's so frustrating is a couple of things. One is everybody complains that their family and friends, don't want to pay them. No, they don't. They're family and friends, right? And if your uncle is a lawyer, you don't want to pay him either. Or if your brother's a plumber, you don't want him to charge you to unclog your toilet, right?
So my brother, get over here, yeah.
Why is it that we're like, poor me, they're not paying? No, my family, they don't even. I'm still Anna with a camera. I mean, they don't care. They're like, Anna, do you have your camera with you? Let's take pictures, right?
Right.
And so people, they just stop that. Those aren't your clients, number one. And number two, you've still got to get out there. I still schlep my stuff to expos and parking lots. And just this summer, I was doing an expo, a baby expo, in a parking lot in LA outside of a movie studio or whatever. One of my but I'm still in the cement, right?
Yeah.
And they had a VIP for an hour for celebrities, but the rest of the day it was still me in the hot sun on a Sunday afternoon in a Studio City parking lot. And my photographer friend visits me. She goes, Anna, I gotta ask you this. My husband doesn't understand why after 15 years you're sitting here on a hot Sunday, it's 85 degrees outside with your stuff, like selling your wares. Why are you still doing it? I looked across the way. We talked about Shark Tank before, and 2 rows over is Lolly Cup from Shark Tank. They had those cups for kids.
Yeah.
And they had schlepped their stuff in boxes, and I go over to them, and I go, I'm going to ask you what my friend asked me. You were on Shark Tank. You got a deal. I saw the deal. You still schlepped your boxes across this parking lot. And he said probably the same answer that you was, we still need to meet the people. We still need to know our community. We need to put our faces out there, and we need to still market and get out brand awareness.
Yep.
And I said, I feel the exact same way. I'm not going to hide behind my website and social media pages. I'm going to go out at the table. And people, I was just at an event last weekend, and someone came up and said to me, oh, you are here. Rumor has it that you had a booth here, but they didn't believe that you were here. And the person came to my booth. They go, no, Anna's in her booth
Yeah, go
at a
see her.
school
Yeah.
taking photos. And I was like, yeah, because it's my business and it's my brand. And I
Yep.
still believe in schlepping my stuff
You got
across
to do the
parking
things
lots.
that don't scale. Like, yeah, like you can't have a, as you're depending on the business, like if you're selling cups, you can't handshake every single person that buys a cup. Great.
Correct.
But you
Correct.
can't go all the way to the extreme and not have that human interaction. It's invaluable. In
Yes.
in the startup space, we call it getting out of the building. Like you just have to
Yes.
get out of your comfort zone, out of your safety zone of like
Yes.
this distance, and just immerse yourself with in the world and lives of your customers. It's
Yes.
invaluable. That's how you learn to speak their language. Every
Yes.
time, so I have Sticky Elms is an online business. I like bless my mother-in-law's heart. Like she watches all of these. So Kathy, thank you. But there was a moment where she would like hand me business cards of a photographer and say like, oh, here's another photographer we came across, really nice gal in when they were touring or traveling or something. You
Uh,
should give them a call. Like, Kathy, my business model is such that if I have to call every single
yeah.
photographer, I don't
Yeah.
have a business model. I don't have
Right.
that many hours in a day. That
Right.
being said, when I go to I still go to the trade shows because when I sit and listen and talk face to face with photographers, I learn so much.
Right.
I learn the language of what's going on in the industry. I learn what people are concerned about, what people are
Yes.
excited about in a way that you can't do it unless you're face to face with your audience.
Correct. Correct.
Awesome.
And it's, I'm sorry, my phones are
No
ringing,
worries.
but it's, I think as artists, photographers, we're really introverts,
Yeah.
and not just, I would say a lot of artists are. I've met singers. I remember meeting, oh my gosh, what was the singer's name? Um, Jewel. I
Yeah.
met her at a celebrity event.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, speaks so quiet. The quiet of a mouse is incredibly shy.
Yeah.
I mean, like you can barely hear her speaking.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, she's like one of the shyest people I've ever met. And, whenever you meet artists that you see on stage or in the public arena, I've even heard Oprah Winfrey say, one of her favorite times is just being home alone on a Sunday with a book and her tea.
Right.
That's where we're most at home, right? That's
Yes.
where our ideas flow. That's where our creative juices just start turning, our minds. We need that quiet space. We
Yeah.
like being introverted. We like going into our hole. But we also want the world to know who we are and the art that we're going to create, right?
Totally. Totally.
And you can't have it both ways unless you're going to hire a PR, which fortunately most of the musicians do. That's going to go out and be your voice. And I have had different PR people across the years that have helped me, but I always find that my voice is stronger and better. And I've never loved standing next to my PR person. It kind of bugs me because I'm like, no, I wanted to say this, 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 and this. So I'm kind of
Totally.
too much of a control freak to walk around with PR.
Yep.
But I tell people, if you're so intimidated and you're so introverted and you
Yeah.
just can't get out of your house, then hire someone who will market for you. Give them a percentage. Hire a salesman. Give them a percentage. There's ways
There's,
that.
I'm gonna stop. So I think you're right. You can start to outsource. I'm a huge fan of outsource, but I think what you said first is actually really good advice. Is because so much of our business is personal when you're as a portrait photographer. I mean, you have to be selling yourself, right? And
Yeah.
and your most authentic self.
Yeah.
I would outsource every other thing
Yes.
before outsourcing your marketing. Like
Yeah.
once you have to be able to, let's say you don't want to do your emailing or your blogging or something like that. You've got
Okay.
to get it to a point to where it's moving, where somebody can hear and see your voice and how you would do things, right? And
Right.
then you can hand some of that off to a studio manager, to an assistant or intern. But
Right.
your marketing cannot, I see so many time and time again, whether it's a portrait business or a startup, they just try to hire a marketer to go do it. Well, the
Yeah.
marketer is not the founder. If the marketer is not the founder, they're not going to touch on the unique, special qualities that make you you, and nobody can compete with you, right? With what
Right.
your unique gifts and talents. And so you've
Yes.
got to start with that marketing message, that marketing vision. And then
Right.
once it's moving, you can start to, I think, outsource pieces of it. But I would
Sure.
recommend outsourcing and hiring every other piece first so that you
Yeah.
can get out of your shell,
Yeah.
push yourself out of the building and go talk to
Yeah.
people and do the marketing part yourself.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
We could
agree with you.
we could
Yeah.
do like 4 hours together. So let's I want to leave with really good stories. So
Okay.
when we talked at WPP, no, at Imaging
Yes.
this year, I love the conversation. One, I want to summarize so much of what we've been talking about is this frustration with people who just have this sense of entitlement. Like it's just like work is just going to get done or success is just going to come to us. And so much of who you are and your education and the message you're putting out there, I think is so great in showing how none of the success you've had came easy. You put yourself out there and hustled and put in the work, and over even when you didn't see the return right away, you put in the work and stayed committed. So congratulations to what you've created and the role model you continue to be for other photographers as well. The next part is I love how the quick story you shared about how you're using sticky albums
Yeah.
in your business to get people to be present and to put their phones away. So yeah, I think you shared
Yes.
this with people, and people came into our booth at Imaging talking about, oh my gosh, this is so great. So how are you using it?
Yes. Yes, because they're coming into the newborn photography session and they're
Yeah,
so excited. They see their little baby all bundled up and look beautiful, and I've seen it in pregnancy sessions too, where the men just look back at their wives and they're glowing and they look great and they anticipated the session, and then guess what happens? Out comes the phone, and it doesn't come out in a disrespect to the
right.
photographer. It comes out because they're excited, they want to share
They're
it,
just
and
used to it. That's what they do all
they're
the
just
time. Yeah.
yes, yes. And so I finally started saying, okay, literally putting my hand over the phone. You know what? I will happily give you a free digital album for your phone, and they'll be the best images because I know you're excited, but with the lights that we have going on and everything, it's going to come out terrible. And I've even taken, I had a family visiting from China and they were just so excited. They couldn't wait. So I even took a cell phone photo of the back of my camera, and that looked better than the cell phone shot they took. And I was like, okay, you really want one here? And I took like a picture of the back of my
Yeah,
camera, and
yeah.
they were
Give it
really
to me.
happy
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because I just was like, look at how terrible that photo is.
Hmm.
Or if you promise, just put away the phone, be present,
Yeah,
enjoy the images with me.
yeah.
You're going to love them 10 times more when I send you a little digital album for your phone of clear, crisp, beautiful images that are retouched that look in good lighting. And so my clients bug me. They're every ordering appointment. When do I get my album? Because what we do is we tell them we'll do it from their ordered images.
Yep.
And the reason is those are their favorites when they
Hmm.
were already doing the work cleaning up those images. So,
Perfect,
no,
perfect.
yeah, there it's already ready to go. And so I literally have to, just this morning was thinking I have to keep a log of all the clients that we owe digital albums to right
Yeah.
now because people will call. They don't even care when their canvas is ready. Is my digital album ready yet? We kind of literally put it in the ordering process,
Cool.
and we'll sneak peek them so that they can put them on their phone. But
Yep.
by doing it, we've had to do it in studio, we do it on location, and literally just putting my hand over their phone, going, I promise I'll give you one. It makes them feel better. And we even made a sign. I'm happy to share it with you. And it's on our wall that asks them to not take photos with their phone, that digital albums are available complimentary.
Genius. I love it.
Yeah.
That's so great. I think it's another way people are using this technology to have people be more present. And I think that our initial instinct as creatives is it's hard for us to say no, right?
Yes.
Which is a part of the whether we don't have to get into the whole selling digital debate. But
Right.
bottom line is, if people get digitals, they you can't just give them just digitals. Like you can use that as an incentive if they're
Right.
hard pressed to get them. Whatever.
Right.
I'm not sure what you do, but what I'm learning is that this using a digital album, using like a sticky album to just have the conversation and say,
Yeah.
look, I know you want something like tomorrow or
Yeah.
today for your phone. I get that. And you
Yeah.
can bridge the gap where they don't want to wait a couple weeks for prints. Like we sorry, we don't give you digitals because we like all of the reasons why,
Yeah.
but we create for you your own custom digital app. And
Yeah.
people say, oh, time and time again, they're like, oh, so I can have the pictures on my phone and
Yes.
I can share them to Facebook if I want. Like, yep,
Yeah.
yep. Well, that's all they wanted to do anyway.
Yeah.
And it's just having the confidence to say no and to have the conversation in a
Mhm.
constructive way where, with your example, people are just automatically taking their phones out. People are just automatically asking, oh, do I get the DVD with all of the pictures? They don't
Yes.
know why they're asking that question,
Yes.
right? They just
Yes.
ask it. And
Yes.
so we,
Well, and even too, we sell a lot of product.
yeah,
I'm a big product girl, books, canvases. But you know what's funny is before we started doing that, people were taking pictures of the product. And it looked
yes,
even worse.
yeah.
I'm like, no, that's a gorgeous canvas. That texture is not going to work on a phone. Oh my gosh. And because we saw product, a lot of product, our product takes a while. I mean, it's, 2 to 4
Yeah,
weeks,
right.
to get books and canvases. And because I have a studio and I can show products and we're big lovers of product, even from photo jewelry to books to canvases, we know I want it like now. And
Yeah,
they're so much happier, even just with announcements. What we've actually been finding is a lot of people don't want us to share too images because they want to still snail mail announcements. We
yeah,
still sell a big part of printed announcements on beautiful paper. And
yeah,
so clients will go, you know what, I don't sneak peek a lot, don't post a lot, don't blog it because I want the announcement to go out, but I still want it on my phone.
yeah.
And we have a lot of clients that travel and have international. We have a huge international client base. It's
Yep.
crazy. I mean, China, Japan, and Saudi Arabia, I'm not lying, probably make up a third of our client
Good for
base.
you. That's awesome.
And they're going back and they really, really, really want these. And so I think it's just vital. I think if you don't have it, I think you're missing a piece of your business model.
I've heard sticky albums being really helpful when there's when it's a destination type of location,
Sure.
because you wouldn't think it right away, like, right, like, well, they're really good at helping you get word of mouth referrals.
Yes.
Well, how are you going to get more business out of Saudi Arabia? Well, guess what?
Yeah.
Next, anytime they have a friend they know that's
Yes.
traveling near you,
Yes.
they're instantly going to go, oh, check it out. Here's
No, that's
look at what
exactly
we
that's
did,
what's
right?
happened.
Yeah, that's so
Yeah, and
cool.
it started with Instagram.
Yeah,
And then if you look at my Instagram, half of the comments are in Arabic. I mean, it's crazy. And so what happens is it started there, and then with the sticky albums, they go back home and they have them on their phone. I mean, I took a call last Wednesday from Saudi Arabia. And she's like, oh, so and so. And the person's just like one word names out there. Yeah, she referred you. I saw her album on her phone.
yep,
And what's interesting is we had just mailed that client's package that she won't get for another 3 weeks.
yeah,
She ordered a bunch of slim wraps and books and things like that. She won't get those for a while, but she's already sent us business
that's
from people
fantastic.
that were visiting
Because
here.
that's when people are. I found that as much as we get emotional, like, we can also be honest about the fact that people's attention span gets shorter and shorter, right? And when people first see their images, the excitement starts to wear off a little bit. And so that's why it's so powerful to give them a digital album right away while they're waiting for their books. Is that when they first see those pictures for the first time,
Yes.
that's when they're at their peak of emotional excitement and when
Yeah.
they're most likely to go brag about you and tell the world. This has been fantastic. I've got to wrap up, but Anna, I want to offer you one tip that I
Yeah.
like offering other people at your
Yeah.
game. I think that you are you've got like a full calendar of business, and so finding new customers isn't always a huge priority. I like taking the time and walking through some of the basic things that people getting started can do. But for you, one of the coolest tricks photographers are using sticky albums for is we go back to the partnering with small businesses idea.
Yes.
So the same way you took the time to learn about the boutiques and to be a consumer of there first and to get to know the people first, another really good way people are using that to get their foot in the door is take pictures that you could go in and offer to do a shoot for them, but if you already have done a shoot for a boutique clothing store,
Right.
make a sticky album showcasing their products, and then instead of putting your logo on top of the sticky album, put that boutique's logo on top.
Ooh.
And then we've also talked about at the beginning of the show doing like a text reply thing where
Yeah.
the now this retail boutique can say text coupon book or text like spring style, whatever it might be, something quick, right? They text the code, and in return, they get emailed back a sticky album with a quick online catalog of the new styles or of a coupon or whatever it
Yeah.
might be, right? And then, of course, at the bottom, you've got information about your studio where you can say all photos photographed by.
Yeah.
So what gets really exciting is you have the now not only is your work showcased there, but when they send out like an email newsletter, there's a
Right.
link to this guide you've created for them. So we
Yeah.
can talk more about it. We've done other podcasts digging really deep into how you can partner with small businesses this way.
Yeah.
But why it's so effective is a lot of small businesses are behind the times
Oh,
when it
yeah.
comes to getting online and getting on mobile, right? And so it's a
Absolutely.
really valuable way where you can offer something of value to them first instead of
Yes.
focusing just on how you're going to benefit. So
Can I say one thing on
please
that
do, yeah.
that you just I just thought of is
I love
that
it.
when you say a lot of businesses are very behind,
Totally.
not everybody's on Facebook. And there was one day where 5 clients in one day weren't on Facebook for various reasons. One was a lawyer and they were not allowed to have Facebook. A couple of others were just like, yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
a
in
lot
the
of
mommy
teachers don't
world.
do it anymore either.
Yeah,
Yeah, yep.
yeah, a lot of people. And so when people are saying, "Oh, I'm not Facebook isn't I'm not they're not seeing my post." Maybe your clients aren't even on Facebook.
Yeah.
But everybody has a phone, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Everybody has a phone.
Everybody does.
Everybody has a phone with photos. I mean,
I love it.
those 5 people who weren't on Facebook all had the latest smartphone.
Yep, totally. So where do people go to learn more about your education as well as you've got some awesome products you offer for people in this space also?
Okay, so it is called TAOPAN, which stands for the Art of Pregnancy and Newborn.
Awesome.
And they can go to www.tyopanonline.com,
Yep.
and there's links to everything from
Perfect.
there.
We'll include all the links in the bottom. I might even be able to twist your arm. Maybe when this blog goes live, we can do like a giveaway of something too.
Oh, for sure. I love giveaways. Yeah.
Fantastic.
I need my Oprah moment. Oh, yeah.
Did
Yeah.
you get one?
Yeah.
Awesome. We'll work out the details. You guys follow the instructions in the blog
Okay.
below. Thank you so much for joining. It's been great chatting again. Have an awesome rest of your day.